I have dated women for about 20 plus years. So I just started back dating men. So my last relationship was my baby mama.
Damn.
It was up 9 years.
Hold on. You was your what?
My baby mama.
What's that mean?
So the girl that I was with, the 3 children that we adopted together. So that's my baby mama for real.
So you guys actually adopted
we
children,
are
or
both
did
on the
she
birth
carry?
certificate.
Who has the children?
I have the children. Well, first of all, my kids are
She
grown.
a deadbeat baby mama?
No.
Why does somebody that wants to be a multimillionaire like you cannot have a girlfriend?
What value can a girlfriend possibly bring to my business or bring to my journey? Nothing other than distraction.
Or she can make your life easier.
There's nothing that a woman can do to make my life easier.
100%. She can be your supportive girlfriend who cooks for you, cleans
I can
for
hire
you,
someone to
takes care
cook.
of the house.
I can hire someone to clean. I can hire someone to
You
take care
don't
of the
get
house.
lonely, do you?
Sometimes you do. But as a man, that's part of the journey. You're supposed to be able to handle yourself alone. If you cannot manage yourself to be alone, you cannot manage to become
yourself the question, as I sip on this morning coffee, what has changed with you in your life? You know what? Not a damn thing. You're the same hard worker. For those brothers, I'm talking to the men that are out here that work hard every day, that dedicate themselves, that are disciplined, that are hardworking, that are honest and honorable. Not a damn thing has changed. So what has changed in the world of women? Everything. Not only did they get rid of all these social programs, the DEI, the AI and automation is coming in, replacing all of these clerical administrative jobs and processing jobs. Even the legal system, lawyers are getting replaced with AI. Counseling, therapy with AI. So there's a whole lot of things going on with automation, and the security that they fell from liberal governments and all these government programs and handout, the safety net is gone. So who's going to replace all this? The answer is you. That's who they want to replace. And you see these women right now. Again, modern women don't like men, especially the feminists. They hate men. The only thing that has changed is the economy. Somebody has to fill in the gap for all of this removal of government safety program, government as the man, government filed for divorce, government divorced all of these women, and guess who's going to be the rebound? The rebound is you. Many of these women, however, are having a difficulty accepting this reality. They're half-stepping it because they still have pride and ego. And what they're doing is they're sending their henchmen in, like the Piers Morgans and all of them in the world, to attack things like the manosphere, red pill guys, and all this other stuff. They're trying to shame their way in. It's still an act, the last hope of desperation, because they have too much pride and too much ego to admit that feminism has absolutely been a failure. Now with inflation, the economy, higher gas prices, higher cost of living, real estate is not going down. All these economic factors are in place. And I mean, I told you before, Kevin Marsh takes over the Fed in May. Things are just going to get more expensive. And guess what? Who's going to fill in that gap? They want you to do it. So this is why I made this video. These women are not interested in relationships with men. They hate men. What they're interested in is sponsorship, support. And that's why they're out here now scavenging, fishing for simps. But guess what? They're not going to just they're going to try and get that guy to pay 100% of the bills because, one, you have to compensate them for the fact that they hate men. Remember, they've been running, ripping and rolling and getting viciously pounded out for the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's not because women hate men or don't like men that they don't like sausage. Yeah, they may have been single, but they certainly have been sexually active. You know, with all the birth control factors in there and the clinic over there to get rid of the morning after and all these other stuff. I'm sure they have experienced pregnancies and maybe even some STDs and some other things that have happened in their life because they have a certain, they hate men and they like men. They like having sex with the top 10, 15% of men, 20% of men. Oh yeah, he pounds them out and he slams them vigorously. How do I know? Never mind. Skip that conversation. But anyhow, moving right along. Now what's happening is these women are searching for heroes, fishing for simps, going to the church, using therapy, using manipulation tactics. They're getting on panels. They're talking to men. They're trying to change the conversation. You know, now all of a sudden, they're not talking about men have to make $100,000 plus. All of a sudden, they're changing the conversation. Hey, you know, guys, look, you know, we weren't really serious when we said we chose the bear. We weren't really serious when we said that men should be born in jail and earn their way out. We weren't really serious when they call you guys who make under $100,000 dusty, broke, losers, and whatever else. We really didn't mean that. Why? Because things are getting complicated. And everything gets more expensive. The world is real. There's wars going on. There's things that are happening in the global spectrum that where there's, you know, I always say this. I'm not a part of any political platform. If Kamala Harris had won the election and all these government programs, affirmative action, DEI, and all this other shit was in place and all this, man, these women would be, you think they'll be saying, not only would they be saying men should be born in jail and earn their way out, man, they'd be calling you all kind of derelict, disty, degenerate names on the planet. They will insult you up and down. But now that Trump took over office and they cut all that LGBT funding, all this tranny stuff, all this entitlement programs, all these, you know, Section 8 stuff start cutting down. And they're smart, because what happens inevitably, they're going like, okay, fine. Be a strong, independent, man-hating feminist, but I'm not going to pay for that shit. I'm not paying no taxes to support no people who hate me. Hell no. You know, and guys, if they're smart, if guys are smart, because again, as a man, remember, no matter who's in power, your ass still have to get out here and work and earn and bust your ass. So if you're going to have to work regardless of who's in power, and you're going to have to bust your ass regardless of who's in power, why would you vote to support people who hate you? You're going to have to work anyhow. And men, we need very little to survive. Men, I could live out in a cabin in the woods. I wouldn't care, as long as I got enough resources to survive. And so it doesn't really matter to us. Either way, you have to pay the price of masculinity and manhood. So why would you support individuals that cannot stand you so that they can look at you, look down on you with their basket weaving degrees and say, you guys are this and you guys are that. I have a master's degree in basket weaving. And they look down on your ass like you ain't shit. Or they look at you as these government empowered individuals walk past you with that disgust. And they ain't doing that no more, because they can't. Because their man broke up with them. Big Daddy government was their man. And he broke up with them. And he's not trying to get back in the relationship with them because it's too expensive to have these women around, especially when they're doing jobs that don't add any value to society, that can be replaced with automation and robots. And that is creating a lot of difficulty. Men can adjust. Men can adapt. Men can cut costs. Guys can fix their own cars. Guys can fix their own houses. Guys can do repairs and learn how to fix things quickly. Women can do it too, but they just don't have the motivational incentive. Just like shoveling snow. Women don't want to be out there in the cold shoveling that heavy ass snow. And they certainly don't want to be pulling parts off of car engines and stuff. Speaking of cars, labor rate at the dealership is $200 an hour plus. And the dealership will rob the crap out of you, especially when you bought a car that is unreliable. The Mercedes-Benz with their 3D printed plastic parts, where in a couple of years the radiator pops and the valve covers are cracking because of the heat and the cold and the changes of the environment, and things that are just falling to pieces. They don't even know how to buy cars. They buy cars that have just fallen to pieces because it looks like status, and looks like, they care more about status than how the machine operates over the distance of time, because that's the emotional decisions that they make. But now with the costs, with the high debt, with the credit card debt, with the economy, with the uncertainty in the job market, and many of them have bought things that they can no longer afford, all of a sudden, men are back on the menu. And that word I say, that's you. But you're getting a woman that did not manage her youth. They didn't give her the best years of her life. She didn't manage her youth properly. She could have got with a man when she was 21, 22. But no. She was out there ripping and running and hating men and enjoying the pleasures of sexual liberation, and now chasing her career, trying to be a girl boss, and now she's 30-something years old. And now you get the leftovers of all those demonic spirits that she have run up into her, and all these men that have heavily, viciously pounded her out, and all the trauma, and all the guys that have dumped her, pounded her out, kicked out of the room, slammed the door in her face, didn't call her back. And you're going to have to deal with all that bullshit. She's going to talk about therapy. She's going to talk about religion. But deep down inside, that trauma is embedded, because women were not designed to be passed around like a bag of Skittles. It wasn't. And that's the type of woman you got. You deal with a heavily damaged woman. And most of them that we don't talk about are on medication. That's why they always talk about therapy, medication, and have psychological problems. Because, again, in this feminist matriarchal culture, they don't have the protection of what men tried to do before they fought for sexual liberation, because fathers in general, even though they were bad men back there, protects their daughters. Men give objective, logical situations where they protect women. In the past, they fought to be from under that system. They wanted to be out here liberated with feminism and sexual liberation, and not understanding that life is real. COVID didn't teach them anything. They understand that when systems and governments fail, it's the Serengeti. Survival matters. Women in other countries, third world countries, they understand how fragile government is, how fragile society is, and family and having a man becomes critical. But now they're starting to realize, like, hold on here. See, it's one thing to have a conversation. It was another thing to feel the financial pinch, the economy, you're looking at your bank account, looking at your bank account statement, looking at survival, looking at the inflated cost of rents, looking at the inflated cost of food and utilities and everything else. Now you're feeling that reality. You're feeling that. That's a real, see? Women respond to that which is real. This conversation here, me blowing hot air into the air, don't mean a damn thing. Somebody who can't make their rent, somebody who's worried about food, somebody who's worried about repairs to their car, that is real. So all these panel conversation, all that, whatever. We saw that when the government closed down the last time with the, those entitlement programs. You saw how the women were sweating, because that's real. Conversations are wasteful. Real hardships, real suffering is what matters to them. And what they see is real hardships and real suffering. And they don't see that many superheroes, because, again, social media still props women up. So the delusion is still there. The problem is, like with these dating events, it cannot confirm the delusion that they're feeling that they're feeling online. Now they got to go to the street out here in the real world, dating events when no guy shows up. They want a certain caliber of man to date him. He got 10 women, 20 women. She don't give a damn about them. So who's left? Who's left is the average working guy making $65,000, $70,000 a year that they're going to be scraping around. But that guy himself, if he's watching channels like this, he's going to evaluate the situation and realize that he's going to be sleeping with the enemy if you allow a man-hating, ball-busting, nut-crunching feminist in the house with him. You're sleeping with the enemy. Sooner or later, that woman is going to claw you to death, because she's a hardcore feminist, not raised to be under the leadership of men, not raised to offer you any value. She damn sure believes that serving men is abuse and the evil patriarchy. So what are you just taking on? An expense, a burden, and an irritation, and all you're going to be rewarded with is heavily, vigorously, viciously pounded out, pre-owned box. That's all she has. And then you have to listen to her debating you and arguing with you and bringing all of that liberal, woke ideology into your house. So you got basically taking on a load. Loads. We're infested with loads. Loads everywhere. And that's what you're going to have. More expenses, more bills. And if you really, these people be joking about incels, give that about a year or two. You're going to really experience what it is to be an incel. Because there's a lot of married incels right now. They're going to be dating well, if you're not married to her, you have an option to get rid of her, but you'll still be a relationship incel. That's what's going to happen, because that woman despises men. They were raised to despise men. We love women. I love women. But at the end of the day, they're not raised that way. We were raised to protect, raised to provide, raised to look out for women, raised to love women. They were raised to hate us, raised to despise us, raised that our leadership was an evil patriarchal system that oppresses women and holds them down. You see the difference in how we were raised? But a lot of guys, they get fooled or they get distracted. They believe there's something else that is there other than their own self-preservation in the modern world. And it really isn't. It's just they need resources now, desperately, because of the cost of society, the cost of survival, and they're in heavy need for a good, solid, hard-working, jellyback simp. One that's going to be egalitarian. He's not going to demand much. Maybe he can get a little bit of rations of pre-owned. Maybe you give him something once a week. All right, I got to have sex with this guy. They're calculating. Okay, he has a house. He has a car. Let's see what else. He got a good pension. Girls, they meet with the coalition. Girl, you just got to give him sex once a week or something. Just once a week, okay? Then give him once a week, maybe twice a week to start. Then ration it down to once a week. Then get it down to once a month. Then once every 3 months and once every 6 months. Once you get married to him. You see, girl, you're not going to have sex with him all the time. You just got to get in there, get signed to a contract, get your name on the deed to his house, get your name on his pension and all that stuff. And then you can take your money and save it. And, you know, he ain't that bad. That's how they talk about you. That's how they talk about most guys. That's what they do. What else do you think they're talking about? They ain't talking about how they can pour into you or add to you, or, you know, they really love this guy and I'm going to help him. And because women who really like you or love you help you. They don't look at you just as an extraction, just extract resources from you all the time. So, you know, they're looking at what can I extract from this dude? And that, again, that's why the conversation now is about all these ball-busting feminist women talking about 100% provider and all this. That means that they want you to pay for them to open their legs because they despise you. That's why. They're nothing traditional about these women. These women have been getting pounded away in alleyways at Freakniks and, you know, spring breaks and, you know, clubs and one-night stands and passed around by every dudes in the 15%, alpha widows. And now all of a sudden, they went to the church and rebranded themselves. The church and this therapy is what they use to rebrand themselves and sell themselves to you at full price. All of a sudden, she's a good old girl. Hey, yes, I don't have sex until, 90 days, and I am in this celibacy journey now. That's what they sell the jellybacks. Celibacy jelly my ass. They out here getting slammed, hair pulled, whatever else. They still in the church getting pounded out. It's just all a grift and a hustle to secure themselves a nice jellyback simp sponsor. And who's decided to get on that program. And that's why when they come and they start this conversation, the first thing they need to start about, what exactly are you? What is the return of investment? What are you going to do to make my life better? Don't tell me what I can do for you. Don't tell me what you're going to take from me. That's what you got to start, gentlemen. You got to get smart. If they ain't talking about nothing about what they're going to do for you in this environment, you're better off keeping it moving, man. Because the answer to that question is they ain't going to do a damn thing for you except become a load and tell you how much of a man you are not, because you're not going to be sponsoring her life. So again, gentlemen, peace is beautiful. This is an important time to protect your peace. Don't let a piece of pre-owned cause you to put yourself on a penal colony of ball busted with a retired feminist, a covert feminist, or these religious feminists that hide out in the church. You're going to end up on a plantation of misery, messing with these chicks. It's a scam. It's a con game. It really is. They've had all these years to find relationship. They were just interested in being girl bosses, bosses, and being strong and independent women. Now, I make exception for the 10% women, but men usually snatch them up quickly. The exception is only for the 10% women. Vetting them is not very difficult. It's easy to find out or figure out what a woman really is into you or not. I'm going to start doing videos on those topics. But at least for these women out here, they only talk about what you need to be doing for them, which just means that they have nothing to offer you. They don't even want to give you that pre-owned, but they understand that's part of the deal. So, at the end of the day, it's all a downside thing. So for women to be valuable in relationship, see, women are competing with men's peace now. They have to bring something else. They have to offer a return of investment. They got to be something else other than old, worn out, viciously pounded out, pre-owned box and irritation. It's pretty much all they're offering. Good luck with that. Anyhow, gentlemen, I got to hit the gym, man. Make sure you guys hit the like button. But, I mean, who is going to... Only a fool will fall for this scam out here today. And it's going to get worse. Because I don't think inflation is going anywhere anytime soon. Somebody's got to pay for all these wars and all this other crap out here. And obviously if interest rates go down on mortgages, well, that ain't gonna make house prices go down. It's gonna make them go up. You think rents are gonna get any cheaper? It's madness. Anyhow, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. More content coming your way. But shoot, let these wild horses run free. I'm out.